With a tear in my eye. This is the greatest Royal Rumble match to ever happen! Royal Rumble 1992. Hello, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, dogs, cats, giraffes, zebras, whoever chooses to watch this. I don't know. I don't judge. I don't discriminate. If animals want to watch, grandmas, grandpas, uncles, aunties, children. Well, maybe not children. I swear sometimes, but I probably won't be swearing for this one because unlike Royal Rumble 2012 or any other of the atrocious pay-per-views that I review for this channel, this one's actually a good pay-per-view. Remarkable. A good pay-per-view for Mr. Litke to review. Yes, I am Brett Litke, and there's certain pay-per-views that everyone has that they can point to that they watched in their childhood, whether it be live or on tape delay, now DVD delay, soon to be WWE Network delay, weird, that changed their wrestling history, that changed their path, that made them the superfans that they are today. And Royal Rumble 1992 very clearly shaped my wrestling sort of influence. In the better. I watched this as a young gentleman, probably 5 years after it happened, 1997, let's say. And let me tell you, Royal Rumble 1992, you won't find a better Royal Rumble match. You won't. You'll find some good ones that are maybe equally as good, but in order to describe this match, you could just use star power, perfectly structured, and a perfect winner. It had sort of all the elements. It flowed really well, star power, but we can't even. I'm getting into the match before I'm even getting into the pay-per-view. But the pay-per-view really, the matches before, and let's be real here. Early 90s WWE, and even to an extent mid 90s, although it was really early 90s, was all about the big, bulking, fat ass, wrestlers they weren't athletic. They were just kind of there, and they stumbled around the ring like Akeem, and you get the natural disasters in them, right? They just kind of were there and big. And so a lot of old wrestling matches in WWE from the late 80s, early 90s haven't aged well. It's, nostalgia purposes, sure, it's fun to go back and watch them, but just like when you turn on the old NES, you sort of realize that maybe nostalgia only goes so far. So maybe you think that, hey, I'm going to watch the new Foundation, which is Jim Neidhart, Owen Hart, and I'm going to watch them take on the Orient Express, Katao and Pat Tanaka. I'm going to watch that, and that's going to be fine. But it's not fine. The only redeemable thing about that is Owen Hart. And that's the first match on the card. And they get 17 minutes. So you go, okay, well, maybe I'll watch the next match. And the next match isn't bad. Roddy Piper versus the Mountie. I'm Canadian. I know I'm supposed to love the Mountie. I don't love the Mountie. Okay. Piper, though. So, next match, Beverly Brothers. The Beverly Brothers. And they took on the Bushwhackers. And so you start seeing how it goes. Oh, okay. This isn't that great. Natural disasters. They were in the next match after that. Versus the Legion of Doom. So at least there was something there. But not the greatest undercard in the world. And most of these pay-per-views, if you go back and you watch the big pay-per-views, late 80s, early 90s, not the greatest undercards. You were really there for the main event. You got Hogan and Macho Man, that sort of thing. So we're just going to skip past that. Really, because the main bulk of Royal Rumble 1992 is that Royal Rumble match. Because so much good happened in that match. It was so unbelievably perfect. First, it's been talked about many times, but was there anyone better on color ever than Bobby Heenan? I don't think so. I don't think there was anyone better than Bobby Heenan. So, immediately, that's a win. Bobby Heenan, Gorilla Monsoon, and this was probably Bobby Heenan's finest performance as a color commentator. In WWE, WCW, He was on point for this match. If you watch 1992 Rumble for anything other, if you're just looking to watch it for Heenan's commentary, because he's gold from start to finish. And you knew when Ric Flair came in at number 3, you knew that something special was going to happen. Ric Flair was still relatively new to the WWE. He was still kind of, fighting for that moment that would establish him in WWE. This guy had such a killer career beforehand, and he was looking for that one thing to put him over the top. Well, he gets in there at number 3, and the first time you watch it, I wish I could erase my mind so I could watch it one more time without having known what was going to happen. But you see him come in there at 3, and Bobby Heenan is losing his mind. There might not be a better, well, there is, but goddamn, that's one of the best moments in wrestling history. Heenan, such a despicable little coward, loves his heel wrestlers so much, and here comes Flair at number 3, and he loses his mind. Desperate, pleading, just doesn't know what to do. Absolutely fantastic. And you just had an inkling, a certain feeling that Ric Flair was about to do something special that night. And he sure as hell did. He went an hour in this match, ladies and gentlemen. An hour. And I get it. There were moments where he was laying down and, where there wasn't as much action as... he went hours, or he would go an hour with Steamboat regularly, where there wasn't as many rest points. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this was Flair's greatest performance in a wrestling ring. What I'm saying is this was the best performance. Well, no, I don't even know if I could say that. I was going to say it's the best performance in Rumble history, but Stone Cold Steve Austin had a few terrific ones. But let's say it's one of the best. And he was magical that night. And the main thing that made it magical wasn't so much the athleticism or this and that. It was the storytelling that it told. Ric Flair is grinding through this match. And this was at a time in WWE when there were still a lot of big names. This wasn't the mid-90s dearth of WWE where you had Viscera and just awful wrestlers. No-name Man Mountain Rock and idiots like that. No, you still had some good wrestlers. You had some up-and-coming wrestlers. So you got Ric Flair. He's grinding through this match. Now, a lot of the early entrants in this match were... like Shawn Michaels came in pretty early, but he was still a rocker. He was still young. Yeah, he was still a rocker at that time. So you kind of had Barbarian, Tito Santana, it was... the main event was the last portion of this match. So Flair is fighting through. Now, a little bit of backstory to this. You might remember Undertaker won his first WWE Championship at the 1991 Survivor Series, which he did. And him and Hulk Hogan got embroiled in a feud, and eventually the title got taken away. And it was put, because of their feud where it was going back and forth, that's why the WWF title was put on the line in this match. It was because of Taker and Hogan. And so what happened was, the storyline at the time was that, okay, Hogan, Taker, you guys are going to be in the Royal Rumble match, and you guys are guaranteed you're going to draw a number between 20 and 30. Guaranteed. So going into this match, there were some favorites. Hogan was the big favorite. Hogan was the massive favorite, and people weren't really down with that. Sid Justice, he was in there. Lots of people had pegged him to win. Undertaker, this guy came relatively... it was only his second year in the WWE, but he had done a lot. He just won the championship for the first time a couple months beforehand. So he was a favorite. So there was a lot of people there was a few contenders in this match. It's not like there was just one. So Ric Flair, although some people had suspicions, there was also this sort of cast of doubt. Would they actually give it to Flair? Would they actually go through with it? The Royal Rumble, big pay-per-view, is it going to happen? And when he came out at 3, I'm sure back in 1992, a lot of people thought, well, it's done. It's done. There's no way on earth they're going to let Flair go through a gauntlet of giants to come out victorious at the other end. Well, he did. Because what happened was, you got pretty much near the end. We all kind of know the story by now. Sid Justice, Hogan, Flair's in there, Macho Man Randy Savage, they're all fighting it out, they're all grinding it out, and Sid Justice, who was just turning heel at this time, because remember, before this, he wasn't a heel. This was his slow burn to becoming a heel. And they say that he had dirtily, god damn it, that's not a word, cheaply removed Hogan, because he went from behind, Hogan was pointing, and Sid dumped him. Dumped him from behind. Anyways, so Hogan was pissed off, and the crowd actually at this time cheered very, very, very loudly for this. And it's funny, we complain about it now. We complain about WWE force-feeding us stuff with Roman Reigns. We say, oh, man, they're force-feeding it. They're piping in chants. WWF back at this time did the exact same thing. They did the exact same thing. Hogan got booted out. Everyone loved it because everyone, even in 1992, was tired of Hogan in WWF because he had been winning all the time. He won everything. This meant that, hey, the favorite's out. We're going to get a new champion. This is fantastic. And so later releases, and I think it's still like this on the network, if you go back and watch 1992 Rumble, they changed it. They made it so that it seems like the fans booed when Hogan got eliminated. They even changed the commentary on it. It's awful. But it wasn't the case. People were yearning for something different, and they were about to get it. Hogan gets dumped. Then Hogan and Sid start fighting, and so Flair just dumps Sid over. Fantastic. Crowd loses their mind. It was unbelievable. Bobby Heenan loses his mind. Fantastic. If you were someone who liked the more athletic wrestlers, the Flairs, the Steamboats, the Randy Savages, the Bret Harts, the Shawn Michaels, Shawn Michaels was still young at that time, but you get my point. If you liked the athletic people, if you liked those types of wrestlers, this was an insane moment. This was something that was just not seen very often. Macho Man Randy Savage has sort of paved the way, but really this was Hogan's town. This was Hogan's land. And Flair showed in this match that, hey, there's going to be a new dog in town. Now, would it last that long? No, Flair was gone by the end of the year. Actually, he wasn't even gone that much longer. But still, it was something to see. It was a sight to behold. And after this match, if you haven't watched it, if you're some crazy person who hasn't seen it, look up Ric Flair's promo after winning this championship at this Royal Rumble, because it's the greatest promo to ever be done in in wrestling history, because it's the most emotional and real promo, aside from maybe a couple of Terry Funks, and Dusty Rhodes was pretty good at that. But when you watch this Flair promo with a tear in my eye, you know he believes every single word that he just said it, because he knew he just went out and gave one of the best performances ever, and he knew what it meant. He knew what it meant for the business. So that promo, when he's there and he's sweaty, and you got Heenan and Mr. Perfect patting him on the back, and that camera zooms in on his face and he stares at you, and he tells you it's the greatest moment of his life, you believe it. So this pay-per-view had it all. I swear, I'm in love with this pay-per-view. I'm in love with, well, more so just the Royal Rumble match. I watch it religiously. I still watch it at least every year, probably every 6 months. Because this is really what helped shape the way for how I became a wrestling fan, and it helped direct the way for the business. Do you think Bret Hart gets a championship? He ends up winning the championship off of Flair in 1992 in Saskatoon. So Bret Hart, that totally paved the way for him. Totally paved the way for Shawn Michaels. Totally paved the way for guys that you see now. The smaller guys that, well, look at even Rey Mysterio's win when he won the Royal Rumble. That all comes from this Royal Rumble win. This was the trendsetter. This showed exactly how it should be done. In a way, it's sad. Because I don't know. I remember a couple Rumbles that were as good as this one, but certainly not one that I'm yearning to watch constantly and constantly remembering. So this one gets 5 bags for me. I don't even care about the undercard of this pay-per-view. Yeah, it sucked. It wasn't great. The Beverly Brothers, I don't give a shit if I ever hear about them ever again. But that doesn't matter, because when you have a main event that's this good, just an hour of some of the best storytelling and performances that you're going to see in WWF history, it's fantastic. So check it out. 5 bags of popcorn, and I'm going to throw in, you know what? I'm going to throw in a couple beers, because you're going to want to sit back and you're going to watch it with a couple beers, and maybe invite over a friend, and you'll just love watching Ric Flair, and stick around for the promo at the end. Have a good night, ladies and gentlemen.